Good morning, everybody. I'm Tyler. This is MochaMame, and for our first video, I have something special came in the mail today. The Elegoo Neptune 2S. And we've got a pretty janky setup here. I've got lights on monopod almost ready to fall off. I've got the microphone stuck to a piece of wood by tape. Tape is starting to rip, but we're going to try this. And we're going to try to do a unboxing. And if I have enough time, we're going to try to build this also. This is my first 3D printer. I almost built one before, but instead I built a CNC router. Yeah, the light is not good. It's okay. The light is falling down already. Everything is packaged pretty well. I'm not worried about anything being broken. Put this down on the ground here. Okay, so we have power supply, tools, looks like Z motor, extruder, part of the gantry, Z-axis, front, Z-axis, spool holder, and the main unit. Everything looks to be in good condition, and it's time to get building. I'm going to read the instructions. The instructions are not in English. This is a little bit troublesome. We've got enough pictures, I think, to figure this out. First problem. It's not straight at all. There's 4 screws on either side, and I think if we open these screws, we should be able to level it off a little bit. I hope. One screw is already loose. Okay, let's see. Perfect. Okay, so let's tighten this back up. Okay, so step 1 shows that we should put the Z supports up first. Then we've got this piece here with the 2 small holes on this side, and this part here with the short end down on the bottom over here. And we have 4 screws, and they are the longest screws in the bag. So let's try this. Okay, so just do a quick check to make sure it's flat. No gaps, so we're good to go. So the next step is to attach the power supply here, and we're going to use the 2 longer screws, 20 millimeters, silver ones, with a washer. Power supply, you can see, has 2 screw holes, and we just put it back here. Doesn't touch the bottom, and it doesn't use the same hex key. Okay, wire is sticking out the bottom. There's a small gap there. Okay, so next we want to attach a limit switch over here. This limit switch. And we use the 18 millimeter silver screws. And it says we want to have it 5 millimeters off the base. I think that's what it says. So I've got these spacers. They're about 5 millimeters. Then Looks like somebody already screwed this on one time. Okay, so next we're going to attach the Z-axis motor on the back. So over here we have 2 screws, and on the motor we have 2 screw holes. We use these 2 screws here, and again, change the hex key. Okay, so next we're going to take the lead screw and insert it into the motor coupling. I'll tighten that one later. Okay, so now we're done with the base at the moment. We're going to put it over here. And we're moving on to the extruder unit. We take the aluminum extrusion that doesn't have the logo on it. And 2 small holes close to each other on this side. And if we look here, we have matching 2 holes. The large hole is going to go over this screw. And the idea is that we need to screw it from the back into position using these round 18mm screws. This is not exactly the easiest. Put the screws first. Then I want this to be flat here. So I'm going to put this on top and hold it in place. Okay, so now it's going to start getting a little bit more complicated. We need to take the belt here and feed it through here. There's a little gear inside. So we'll feed it over the top of the gear, then under. Make sure it stays on the gear. And we want these parts here to be on the bottom. Like this, basically. Okay, so now we're going to take the nozzle unit here, and on the bottom wheel, it's not center on this little nut piece. So when we turn the nut, it actually makes this gap here larger or smaller. So we move it to make it larger, and then we're going to try to fit it over here. Get your belt out of the way. There we go. Fit it like that. See, now it's not, yeah, it's going on. Okay. It's a little bit tight, so I think we want it moving very, very freely, but no play. I will turn it, and now it's much, much, much smoother. And play is a little bit of play, so we turn it backwards a little bit again. Yeah, now this feels good. There's not so much play when I try to move it, but it's moving very, very smoothly still. Okay, so now we're going to put on this piece here. You can see it has a little pulley. We're going to need to loop the belt around that. And then there should be a big hole to put this screw inside. And a spot for 2 screws. Again, I'm going to try to make this straight as possible. It's not going to work so easily this time. Let's try this. So last step is to put the belt inside the slots. And it looks like it fits in just perfectly. Yeah. A little bit tight fit, but perfect. So if we take a look now, we should have good movement. Little bit tight, maybe. Okay, so we've got the X-axis ready. Next step is put it together. Take this part here and put it on the main unit. We've got two wheels inside here, again with the same type of nut like before, off-centered, so we can tighten it. And it's going to fit somehow inside here. First thing I'm noticing is it needs a little bit. There we go. Just a little bit. Actually, it's pretty good fit. So here we have the lead screw, and we need to make sure the lead screw gets put inside the little gold piece. What's inside there? Okay, now we're going to loosen this up a little bit. That's tight. That's loose. There we go. Now we're sliding down. It's still too tight though. It should be a little bit more free than that. Over here. So it's in this way. Over here, I want it to be a little bit looser. Okay, so maybe this is about right. We might have to adjust it again later, but if I turn the lead screw just a little bit, with very little effort, we can see that the Z-axis will drop down. And there's no play here. Both of these wheels are contacting the aluminum extrusion, so we should be good to go. So I flipped it around now, and it's finally time to put on the logo part. After what we just did, this is pretty easy. It's a little bit relaxing. And we only have 4 screws left, so it's not difficult to figure out which ones we need to use. Okay, so basic frame assembly is done. Next, it looks like we're going to have to take care of all these wires. 2 points. One point is we need to get this cable chain in through here. So I've gone ahead and taken this top piece off again and put it through. And second part is I think it's better if we move the Z-axis up to the top before we close these 4 screws up here. That way that we got a nice straight line going as much as possible. So we adjust down here these nuts, and then when we bring it up to the top, the amount of pressure that we need to go from top to bottom should be the same. Okay, so I just want to mention that there's 2 screws on the gold lead screw nut. I didn't tighten these yet. I'm thinking I'm going to wait until everything's moving, make sure that it's nice and smooth, and then I'll tighten it later. Over here, we're going to put this tube quality is. I'm going to put this tube inside the extruder. Then there's no instructions saying how to put this cable. We'll just put it as smooth as possible, and after it's running, we'll move it around a little bit more. Wire named filament detector goes to the filament detector. E for extruder, right here. X for the X-axis motor. And another X. Inside here is a limit switch. Okay, not bad. So, down here, coming out of the main body, we have two Z wires. Small Z wire is for the front limit switch here, and the large one is for the Z motor. And final one that we need to connect is the power. The Y-axis was already attached. Okay, now that we've got everything almost finished, we're going to put the spool mount on, and inside the spool mount handle, we've got this little sharp and dangerous looking thing. Should be for cleaning nozzles, I would say. I need to look at that after. Put it there for now. Spool mount is fairly simple. We just line these up like this. And then we're going to drop it in place up here. Then from the top, screw it in. Yeah, it's nice and solid. And then the handle just screws in from the back. Take that piece of foam out from inside too. Okay, take off this cling wrap. And that's it. We've got the basic assembly finished and looking good. And it should be ready to turn on at this point. I would say it's not too difficult. It took a fair amount of time, but of course I was also making the video while I was putting it together. I would say give yourself about 1 hour if you don't have experience. If you have experience putting together a 3D printer, then maybe you need about 20 or 30 minutes. Maximum 2 hours. There's some things that we didn't take a look yet inside this bag. We've got scraper. You have a pair of snippers, USB cable, some cable ties. We'll clean that up after. We've got a sample of PLA, which is nice if you forgot to buy some PLA. I've got mine somewhere around here. Tools which I didn't use because I like using my own tools. All the tools you need to assemble it are included in the box. Triangle piece of paper. Qualified certificate, it says. And a smaller bag. Inside the smaller bag we have two, looks like replacement parts for the extruder. Then we have 4 nozzles. And we have 2 little blue clips, which I don't know what they're for. They're for here. And a USB. We also have the power cable. So let's plug this in and see what happens. Plug it in over here. This piece of plastic is a little bit cheap. Okay, so it's plugged in now, and let's flick the power switch. Nothing happens. Okay, so it's very important. For me, I'm safe, but if I was in Europe, I would have destroyed. No, if I was in Europe, I would have been okay. So over here, you have to choose which voltage, 230 or 115. Here in Japan, we're using 115. Make sure the number says 115. If you get it wrong, you can destroy your power supply. Plug in the power again. And let's turn it on. That's a good sound. Probably can't see this on the camera. It says it's actually already started. You really can't see it on camera. This video is taking a little bit longer than I expected. I'm going to break it into 2 parts. The second part will show preparing for the first print and includes bed leveling. Now, I've already filmed the second part, and what I can say is the first print turned out really well, so I'm pretty confident if you follow along with this video, you should be able to get a good print too. However, there is a lot of things that you can improve on, I'm sure, and I encourage you to take a look at some other videos or some other guides, do some searches, and see what else you can improve compared to what I've done. This is my first time building a 3D printer, so I'm sure there's a lot of things that you may or may not agree with. And already myself, I've done some searching, and I can see that there's some people doing things a little bit different than I've done, and that's okay. I've done some calibration prints, and they turned out pretty good. They're not perfect, so there is room for improvement. Mostly, I would say it's with the slicer and calibration, but a little bit hardware adjustment is possible, and I'd say there is a fair amount of room for improvement through upgrades, so maybe I'll make another video showing some of those too. So if you're still watching, thank you very much. I hope you'll come back for the next video. I'll leave some affiliate links down in the description below, just in case you're interested. It doesn't cost you anything, but if you do use those links to purchase something, it'll help me a lot and be much appreciated. Thanks for watching.